Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I got a small tutorial for you regarding recording the Katana and regarding your DAW. Doesn't matter what DAW you're using. I'm using an SM57, not quite in the cone, a little bit to the left. And what you see here in the screen, I've got 4 tracks recorded of guitar. And I have some drums from Easy Drummer. This really doesn't matter because it's just always the same loop, but the drums are this. This is a hard rock pack that I bought. That doesn't come with Easy Drummer, but anything will do. Okay, so first I recorded, let me just put this a little bit in loop. This is in Logic, how I put it in loop, by the way. Let's listen to the already named, all the tracks. It's very important to name all the tracks so you know what you're doing. And color code, we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's listen to the Les Paul Bridge open chord. This is recorded with the Katana, okay? So it's always the same 4 chords. Next, I did the same thing with Les Paul on the neck and using 5th chords instead of open chords. It's very important to, if you're double tracking, sometimes you can do exactly the same thing on the 2 sides of the stereo speakers. But it's cool to throw in the same chords in a different way. So I make open chords and 5th chords. And I record a strat with open chords again. By the way, I'm using no EQ on the Katana whatsoever. Just recording with no EQ on the Katana. By EQ I mean the parametric EQ and the other EQs the Katana has, okay? And then the same thing with the strat again, my Vintera strat, on the neck pickup and 5th chords. So first thing first, I'm gonna select all these tracks and I'm gonna click Alt-C because I want to give them a different color. This is from something from Logic. Okay, probably these ones I'm gonna give them another color so I know what they mean. And then if you select all and click, double click, right click, name region by tracks. So they are already named by the track. So what I like to do, and most of the time what it's done, is you pan one guitar hard left and one hard right. So, but before that, let's take a listen to the drum, because it drums a very simple loop. It's always the same thing. It's not EQ or anything done yet. First thing I'm going to do is cut these parts here because I don't need them. Okay, I select them all and just cut it. And then I'm going to listen how this guitar starts first in solo. Alright, second one. Okay, third. Cool. And finally the 4th guitar. Okay, all good. Now I'm going to pan hard left this guitar Les Paul Bridge open chords. I'm gonna pan this hard right. Okay, let's take a listen to them isolated. Very big open sound. Let's take a listen to them together, but in the middle. It's not so big because it's not wide open. Now let's go into the Stratocaster. And let's do the same thing, one to the left and one to the right, and just those guitars together. It's sounding very cool, but I noticed there's a lot of fizziness because I didn't use any EQ on the Katana, parametric EQs and stuff like that to cut around 8K or something like that. And one other thing I'm going to do is, since this Strat Bridge open chords, I'm going to move this track there. So I have open chords from the Les Paul and open chords from the Strat, one to the left and one to the right. Let's do it right now, one to the left, one to the right. See how it sounds, these 2 guitars together. It's very important to vary, you know. Record the same riff but with different guitars or different pickups or whatever. Let's take a listen. It's very distinctive, this sound, because you have that full sound from the humbucker on the Les Paul and then that single coil on the bridge Strat. Very cool. Now I'm going to take a listen in solo to both guitars with 5th chords, one on the neck, both on the neck pickup, okay? Let's take a listen. Not so harsh because it's on the neck pickup. Now we can take a listen to the 4 guitars together. And this is called quad tracking because you're not really just doubling, you're quadding the track, you're putting 4 tracks. Together with the drums, it sounds like this. There's no bass yet, very important, but the first thing I notice is the guitars are too loud. So I'm gonna click in X, that brings my mixer window. I'm gonna select all the guitars and bring down while I play the drums. You can watch the signals here as we go. It's still clipping, once again. You don't want this to clip, the master fader, call it here stereo out. You can double click and call it master again. There's 2 masters. They're both important, but this one is where you want to watch your sound because it has a meter, okay? Not this one. So if I click play, it's everything too loud. So I'm gonna low down the guitars a bit more. And now the drums, because the drums are too loud. Let's take a listen. Now just for the sake of it, I'm gonna put a limiter. Don't do this usually. I'm just gonna put a limiter here from waves, just so I can bring the volume up again without clipping. So I have here the L2 stereo. You shouldn't do this unless you know what you're doing. I'm just doing for the sake of the video. Bring down this. Okay, this is one of the final stage of mastering, not mixing. This is just for the purpose of the video, so you guys can listen to the guitar without clipping, okay? Alright, so one other thing I like to do is all guitars, as you can see here, are totally left and right. But I'm gonna put 2 pair of guitars, like the open chords left and right, and the other ones not so left, not so right, kind of in the middle. Okay, sounds better. Since they are in the middle, the sound seems to be louder, so I'm decreasing here from the neck pickup on both the Les Paul and the Strat using 5th chords. Alright, sounding good, but we have this problem of harshness, as you guys call it sometimes, from the Katana. And ideally, you have to move around the microphone on the cab until you find that sweet spot. I didn't do that. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm not going to use an EQ per channel. So what I can do here in Logic, and most of the DAWs have this, you can create an auxiliary track where your sound is going through and process everything together. In Logic, we can create sort of a summing track, all right? You call sum, I just press Command Shift G. I'm gonna call this guitars sum, okay. So every guitar now, when I put this in loop, when I click solo here, use my channel, I'm gonna give it a different color like yellow so you guys can see it better. And all the guitars are going bus 1, bus 1, bus 1, bus 1 here and stereo out, okay? Usually we use another stereo out, not the master, but a mix bus, kind of another auxiliary track to process the sound even further before hitting the master. Okay, so right now I'm gonna do just a simple thing. I'm gonna grab an EQ. You can grab stock EQ in Logic, it's this one. But since I have Fab Filter, I'm gonna use Fab Filter. If you haven't heard about Fab Filter, it's probably the best EQ not to color the sound, because we don't want to color the sound in any ways or any means by now, at least in this episode, but just to get rid of some harshness and stuff like that. So Fab Filter, Pro Key 2, Pro Key 3, stereo. And now when I hit play, I'm going to visualize all the frequencies from the guitar. Check it out. As you guys can see, there's not much going on at 57, 60 hertz. I'm gonna leave this here, but there's a bit of quiet here on the high end. In this EQ, what I can do is click and grab one of the frequencies and listen just to the frequency solo. There's a little headphone icon here, so take a listen. And this is a sound you want to get rid of somehow, not totally, okay? The fizziness, the harshness of the digital, or not the digital, I mean the harshness of the SM57 into the Katana the way it is. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is, this is called high pass filter, and this is called a low pass filter, and this one is called a high pass filter. That I'm gonna delete this one, delete this one as well, not needed. And now I'm gonna high pass until I feel it's good enough. We're using the headphones. So typically, when you're mixing guitars, you don't want all this harshness. And some of the amps can be very bright and very harsh. Tube amps altogether, not necessarily just amps like the Katana. And some guys go down to 5K. It's very polished sound and takes a lot of high end. So I'm going into 8K, see how it sounds. I'm going to open up a little bit until 10K. There'll be some harshness as well. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the low frequency spectrum. You basically can hear anything, but it's there. And if you stack a bunch of guitars, what happens is it creates this rumble effect, bass effect, that will compete against your bass and your kick drum. So it's really not necessary. Right now I don't have a bass, but I'm going to add one real quick. As you can see, 40 hertz, you start to hear some rumble. But it's not distinct in the mix, so you really don't need it. So I'm going as high as 60 hertz. Or even more, depends. Let's take a listen. Now without EQ, sound is more rounded. But even so, there's always a frequency here. Around here, then I'm gonna narrow the EQ. Narrow is this, widening up is this, okay? I'm gonna narrow the EQ, I'm gonna put it really high in terms of gain. I'm gonna sweep here until I find this bit of a harshness that I'm still listening. I don't know why 4K seems always to be the problematic frequency. 4K, 5K. So right now I'm gonna do is take it off. Not totally like this, dramatically, because it will damage your tone, believe me, but around 4 decibels. Another move I'm gonna do is the same thing here, around 5K, 6K, I mean. It's really unpleasant to the ear, so I'm gonna take this one as well, a little bit, and narrow it a little further. This one as well. Okay, let's take a listen. Without. You must have good headphones or studio monitors so you can listen to these subtle but very important changes, because in the end you'll see the difference it doesn't make. Right, let's put the drums together and see how it sounds. I'm going to toggle the switch on and off here from the EQ so you guys can listen, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna have some bass right now. In this case, I'm not going to record the bass via the Katana. I could, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to create another track here. Just go here and create track, an audio track, input 1, okay. I'm gonna put it up there because I want it to be next to my drums. Double click, call it bass, give it a different color. Usually I use kind of this color for the bass, and I want to pick the bass, so I'll be right back, just a few seconds. Okay, I'm back, guys. You guys can see the bass, where it's a square. I'm gonna show you the camera. Is it focusing? Okay, it's a square. It's more than enough for what I'm doing. And now on my Polo Twin, I've got this interface where I can control the input, the signal input going into the interface, okay? Okay, this is good enough. What I also can do with this interface is to process the signal before going into the actual DAW. So what I'm gonna do is add a bass amp. All right. I have to click here UAD record or UAD monitor. Just to monitor the sound record. It actually records the sound that I'm using here on the amp, okay? Another thing I want to do is add some compression. All right. So I'm gonna leave it as it is because it's more than enough. I'm gonna take the loop off. I'm not going to play everything, okay? Just record, and let's see how it goes. Okay, as you guys can see right now on the screen, I'm gonna solo the bass, and this is what I've recorded. Pretty cool, nice and fancy. Now with the drums. Now everything together. So the bass will be the fundamental tone for your bass, you know, to fatten up the track. Not necessarily the guitars. The guitars want to cut through in the low mid, high mid registry, okay? So let's listen to the guitars without the bass. Now with the bass. This is the thing that's going to fatten up the tone, the bass, the kick drum, not necessarily the guitar. So everything together right now. It's already starting to clip, but anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this part of the video. Stay tuned for the second one, when I'm going to start mixing this. You guys can see how I do it on my recordings for myself, not for the patches, because on the patches I don't use any EQs whatsoever in any DAW that I might use, just the Katana by itself or any other unit I'm demoing. But on this one I'm going to do it and show it how I do when I record for myself. Stay tuned for more. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and cheers!